Awesome. Well, welcome. My name is Sarah Andon. We've got Thomas Vinton below me, and we're going to talk a little bit about Turner Construction today, kind of go over who we are, what we do, and our backgrounds and what we've done at Turner so far, and kind of dive into what internships are like at Turner and what you'd be doing and what our culture is like. So interesting forum. I've done quite a bit of recruiting for Turner, but I've not done it virtually. So bear with us, and excited that you're on the video. A little bit of housekeeping or house rules before we get started. Please let us know that you're on this webinar. So if you go to menti.com and you enter that code, you're able to put in your information so we can keep up with you later, get resumes, keep you plugged into things that we are doing. So if you would take some time to do that, that would be great. You guys are all on mute. At some point, I personally and Thomas both want you guys to be unmuted so you can interact with us. It's definitely more fun. If you can raise your hand, ask a question, stop us and ask us to explain something more. So we will do that later in the call. So be prepared. And then again, you can chat us. So Michelle Jari, our HR manager, she will be monitoring those for us. So if you have a question or want to hear more about something, please feel free to chat us up. So we'll hop into it. So again, my name is Sarah Andon. I went to school at Middle Tennessee State University in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I'm a project manager for Turner Construction, and been with us for 8 years. I've had the opportunity to do 2 internships with Turner. So my first one was in our pre-construction department, which we'll explain what that is later, but dealing with a lot of the numbers. And then I had an opportunity to be on a science building on MTSU's campus, which was very, very exciting for me as a student, but started my career in healthcare. Did that for 5 years, and I've been on the Tennessee State Library and Archives project. It's $107 million in downtown Nashville, and now transitioning to the 1030 Music Row. It's an office building, like literally true to name, on Music Row. And it's a timber structure in a glass box, so very unique building. Me and my team are very excited about it. But yeah, that's me. Thomas?
Yeah, I'm Thomas Vinton. I am a Mississippi State University graduate, and I'm also a project manager like Sarah. I've been with Turner for 7 years, going on 7 years, and I'm currently stationed in Huntsville, Alabama, doing a project for a client. It's a back-to-back project, so pretty cool that they requested that we come back and do a second job with them. But I had 2 internships with Turner, but it just excited to be on here with you guys. Like Sarah was saying, normally we're recruiting on campuses, so I've been doing that the last 4 or 5 years. Miss being on campus with you guys, but we're very thankful that we're able to connect in this way. So looking forward to going through everything with you guys.
Cool. So we'll hop into it. Let's see. All right. So Turner Construction. So when I was in your seat, I didn't really know a whole bunch about just the construction industry in general. So Turner Construction is typically a construction manager. So we work directly with a client, and we provide construction management services. So subcontractors work under us and perform the work, if that makes sense. So we're one of the largest construction managers in the country, founded in 1902 out of New York. And so we're big. You can see those are all the offices there on your screen across the map. So almost every major city, we have a presence, which is pretty neat. It's really cool to go on vacation or go visit friends, and you'll be in San Francisco and like, oh man, there's a Turner sign at a Turner project, and it's just really, really exciting to see that. But $12 billion worth of construction on 1,500 projects a year, which is just crazy. So we build all kinds of stuff. We do commercial, industrial, government, To the right there, you'll see some of the projects that we've done recently. So SoFi Stadium out in Inglewood, they just had their first game. It's over $1 billion project size, and just massive project out in California. Did an uplift to Madison Square Gardens, which is really, really neat. It looks really cool inside. And then I sit in Nashville, Tennessee, and we built the Bridgestone Arena, which is kind of cool. Been to several shows and been to a bunch of PED games, so it's just kind of neat to know that we've built it. So, you know, Turner Construction is, you know, it's big. We build big stuff. But as Thomas and I will touch on later, we are structured by business units. So I operate in the Nashville, Huntsville, Memphis business unit. You know, Thomas is in Huntsville. You know, we kind of operate like a small family and small construction company by a business unit level, even though Turner Construction is like, you know, this massive powerhouse all across the country. You have that large company, but with like a smaller, more localized feel, which is something when I was in your shoes, I was really looking for. I wanted that, you know, connectivity to like a group of people that lived where I lived and wasn't just a bunch of like suitcasers. Anything you think to add to that, Thomas, just overall who we are?
No, I think you covered it, but the, you know, right before my first internship, I mean, you really don't realize how big Turner is until you can see this map and see where you're spread out in the United States. And then this doesn't even factor in what we do internationally.
Yeah,
so
true.
It's cool seeing that graphic because you can kind of see across the United States and a lot of those major cities.
Yeah.
Turner does have a major presence. I think last time I was in Washington, D.C., I mean, you go down the street and there's 4 Turner jobs, and it's cool. Like you said, it's a big company, but if I had my gear, I could have walked on any one of those jobs and talked to guys on those sites, because it's like you said, big company, but kind of small company feel, because you get to know the people that are in the company.
Yeah, agreed. I took a trip to Boston and I saw a Turner job on Harvard's campus, and the only thing keeping me from walking on that job was my PPE and the shorts that I was wearing at the time. But yeah, it really is neat to have a company with such a large presence. And another thing that was important to me when I was looking for a company to, number one, intern with, but number two, go and inevitably work for, was I loved the benefits of a larger company. The healthcare package that we get is just very, very competitive. Is very important in your personal life, and just the resources, like the training across the country that I've been able to go to the people that I can pick up the phone and call and have those resources at my fingertips that just a large company with Turner's resources can offer me. So kind of important to me when I was looking for a home and a place to work is company size is definitely something that you should factor into it when you're looking to make a decision. So a little bit about like how Turner solves problems and what makes us one of the best and biggest builders in the country is something called VDC. It's virtual design and construction. So if like you look at other industries, or you look at the automotive industry and you look at how efficiency has improved over time, like so since the 1920s to present day, they're continually improving. Well, construction, because it's so human based and you can't really build stuff in a factory, you've got to do it in the field, right? So we kind of plateaued as far as our efficiency. But it's been really neat over the last decade to see how the construction industry has grown and developed, and how some of the IT nerds have been able to interject some problem solving skills into our industry. So these are actual images from my project, the Tennessee State Library and Archives. So on the far left, image 1 here is an elevation of my building. So we were having issues with, if you look at photo 2, you can see a concrete opening, and then it's 1 foot off. So what we did to create this is we took the building information model, or BIM, which you guys may or may not have heard of in school. So we took that model, and then we have a guy that works for us. He comes around with a scanner, and he goes around and he scans the whole building, and he overlays the scan and he overlays the building information model to kind of see the differences. Ideally, you would want these to perfectly align. In this case, you can see it is a foot off. So we had a slight panic attack, and oh my gosh, how are we a foot off, and how do we solve this problem? And come to find out, there was a change made in the field that was legitimate that caused that that opening to shift up a foot. But it's just kind of neat to see how technology and construction are starting to marry, and how you can solve real problems in the field. So if you're super into computers or technology or software, like that is very much integrated into construction. So there's a ton of opportunities. And I just see that, me personally, I see that field growing a lot moving forward over the next decade. And we could have a person that runs a scanner or a model on every large job, which would be really neat. And then picture 3 there, you can see the opening, you can see the window, the cool circular window that it's in place, and it's all happy and good. So all kinds of neat problems that you can solve with that scanner.
I think that's one of the cool hooks for younger people looking to get into construction. When you think about being a project engineer or being on a construction job, you think about a hammer and you think about just having hard sets of drawings, but kind of like what Sarah was hitting on, we're using all kinds of scanners on sites. One of these pictures, this drawing overlay, this was from my project, and we actually had a drone that flew over the site, and it was basically a total station in the air. So he was able to fly over our site, and you can kind of see where we've done some excavation there on that project site, but he was able to track quantities. So we could kind of back check our earthwork guy and say, you said you did this amount when it's kind of what we're tracking. So it's really cool, all the technological advancements that are coming in construction, like just being able to fly in the drone over. I had a guy come out to our site the other day during a 35,000 square foot concrete pour and fly a drone over. And so now we've got that video for afterwards, and we can use it as timestamps for later if we needed to track any quality from the concrete placement. So it really is just, I think for the younger generation coming in, just kind of unlocking all this potential of everything that's out there is pretty cool of what we're doing on site.
Very exciting in any way.
There's a question from, I know we're going to take most of these questions at the end, but there's a question here. Is BDC similar to BIM?
It's a part to a whole. So a BIM model works into BDC. So you have to build the BIM model, and then there's a way to take the building information model and overlay it with your scan that you do. So here, like in picture number 2, and they've highlighted it here, the model is the yellow, and then the dark structure is the actual building. So, BIM, you do that to make sure all the parts and pieces and work and then all the overlays right. But how do you check that in the field? It's a little bit harder to do. So you can scan at whatever frequency, like, so say I want to scan the job once a week or every 2 weeks or whatever you feel necessary. And then you can kind of check to make sure that what you've put in the building model is actually what's happening in the field. So it's a great way to kind of check that. There's another question from Sean. I think I'm saying all right. Sorry if I mispronounced that, but they asked, do you have software engineering intern roles? And the answer is yes. We had our very first one, I think, Michelle, you can correct me if I'm wrong, last summer. And that went really, really well because we've just hired a VDC manager, and he's been with us, I think, 2 years now. So really expanding that group, and it's always so exciting when they come to the job and they help you solve problems and they've got all this great information that they can share with you and the client. But again, if you have a question, please chat us and we'll stop what we're doing and ask the question. But so you've got the BIM model, and then you have this scanner, which also overlays information. You can also take drone footage. So you, the image on the left is from my job, and then the 2 on the right are from Thomas's. So you can take a drone, fly around, get certain points, and you can put that data into the model as well. So not only do you have the BIM model, you have the scans of the actual field conditions, but then you can also incorporate a drone and have it all in there and just have so much information at your fingertips, which is like still wild to me that we can do something like that. But Thomas, can you speak to any of like the topographic elevation surveys there on your job?
Really, what we were trying to do was on the property right next door. You can see that white building. We had done a huge undercut of unsuitable soils on a previous job, and the owner was asking us, "Hey, what do you guys have where we can back check these quantities so we're not getting pounded on this undercut?" So we kind of reached out to. We had a surveyor in town, and then we also had talked to Gary about coming out on site and doing some scans for us. So we were able to kind of get live information from that drone that was kind of basically shooting points on site of what was undercut when we started versus where we were. So we were able to feed to our client live data on, hey, this week, this is how many yards we hauled off site. This is what we brought back on. So it was really just, it was kind of client driven where they said, hey, this is something I'm interested in doing to get more accuracy in the future. What do you guys have that we could do? And it's pretty awesome that we have the resources in-house where we can reach out, get somebody on site, and then we've got a system for kind of getting those live quantities. So the owner is basically seeing a virtual side of their job and what's coming out and kind of seeing it being built.
Yeah, exactly. And so like a very elementary example of that is imagine you digging a big hole and then you're paying someone to backfill it with a bunch of gravel. So they're dumping gravel and dumping gravel and dumping gravel. And then they send you a bill for it. And you're like, oh, this is $20,000. I'm like, $20,000? Well, yeah, it's X amount of tons of stone. With this software, you could actually take measurements and you could calculate the volume and you could figure out how much tons of stone, because at that point it's a big pile or it's in a big hole. There's no way for anyone to kind of hold anyone accountable for that information. Like, you really just have to take them by their word. So with this technology, you could literally pull a couple measurements and get a volume calculation from this software, which is just amazing. So if you think about a high-rise downtown, you're digging a big giant hole. If you're having to fill in with different material, it can get very, very expensive really quick. So this very quickly becomes a very important tool to you to kind of use. Really, really neat. You can tell Thomas and I are excited about it. It definitely helps us solve problems on our job. We're both all for it. Another way that kind of software and technology make construction is virtual reality. So hopefully you guys, if you've ever been in a hospital, you see, if you go into a patient room, there'll be gloves and there'll be a needle dispenser, and there'll be all kinds of devices and things set up in a room. Also, like in a surgery, in an operating room, you'll have a table and you'll have certain pieces of equipment set up all around. Well, doctors are very particular, and sometimes they like their equipment and their spacing set up just the way they like it. So Turner is one of the largest healthcare construction companies in the country. So we do a lot of this work. And one thing that we found is if we virtually kind of mock up or make a mimic of the room, you can give a nurse or a doctor or a manager the glasses, and they can go in, they can move stuff around, they can really get a feel for what it's going to be like in surgery. So that way, when you have all this expensive piece of equipment in place, you're not spending a bunch of money to kind of move it to kind of meet the needs of the healthcare facility. So really, really neat. We have a VDC lab and virtual reality lab in our office in Nashville, which is really, really neat. So we can bring prospective clients or anyone who kind of needs to use the technology, bring them into their office, let them verify that everything is right, and then keep rolling. So really, really neat.
Sarah, one of the cool applications I've seen with the VR, there was a job in Florida who their safety department got a hold of it. And so they were doing harness training with guys during orientation that were going to be doing elevated work. So they were able to simulate a harness and clipping it off to the right part of the building that's going to support their weight. And there was a simulation where if you clipped it onto the wrong object, there was a simulated basically fall. And so it was being able to watch their guys go through and do some of that. a random or kind of a unique use of that software, but it worked for all their guys working exterior on elevations. So,
oh my gosh, that is so cool. You've taught me something like right here, right now. I want to get somebody up to do that on my job. Well, neat. I didn't even know about that one. So we've told you a little about Turner. We've said we're a big company, but feel locally, and the family feel and the connectivity with our coworkers is something that is very, very important to us and very important to our leadership. So to give back to our local community, to be involved, to contribute in some way. So Thomas and I belong to the Nashville, Huntsville, Memphis business unit. And so here locally, by area, of some of the things that we do to stay plugged in and to be involved and to give back. So again, it's important to us. Thomas, anything you want to hop in, any like things that you've been a part of that?
No, so Sarah was hitting earlier on kind of regionally, a lot of the events we have, like the softball tournament's a cool one that we do in Cincinnati most years. You get to meet people from all across the country, and then the annual meetings and gatherings, and then project team department gatherings. You know, a lot of times if you're in a specific department, you'll have opportunities to go to nationally led trainings in different locations. And so that kind of adds to your network of resources within Turner. I 2 weeks ago texted a superintendent up in New York to ask what they were doing for orientations during COVID and how they were getting guys in quickly, but being able to scan everybody that was getting on site. So you have this large pool of resources across the country that you can reach out to. So I think that's one of the really awesome opportunities that we have working for a big company. And then just kind of hitting on some of the local ones. You know, we are Nashville, Huntsville, and Memphis, but we find most years we have an opportunity to get those 3 offices together for an event during the fall. And so we kind of can see everybody. So you're kind of, even though we're in 3 different geographic locations, you're still able to get everybody together, and you still have that network within the South where we can all reach out to each other. And then kind of just hitting on what Sarah talked about, we've got these outreach opportunities in each of those locations where we're involved in the community. Specific to Huntsville, we do a barbecue competition that helps raise money for United Way. And then I think pretty common between all 3 offices, we're always trying to look for ways to kind of get everybody together. And because I think one of the cool things about being at Turner is I think we enjoy getting together and hanging out with each other and working together. So that's something that's, I think, is unique to Turner that you don't see everywhere. We work well together, but we enjoy being together when we're not at work.
Yeah, it is funny, like, to tell my friends outside of Turner, you'll spend 8 to 10 hours a day with someone at work, and they're like, hey, you want to go grab a bite to eat after work? And like, you would think you'd be sick of somebody after that long. And, but no, it's nice to like genuinely enjoy who you work with. And again, like I think that is very unique to our business unit and to our company. The fact that we really put stock in hiring just really great people, and just makes your work environment so much more enjoyable. But like that top right picture there, that's a group, our softball team. So a couple of our PXs got together, 2 different regions, and they're like, hey, let's start a softball tournament. So people from all over the country that work with Turner form teams, and then we go to Cincinnati and play in a baseball tournament every year, which is just, I think, so cool. I've been a part of that. It's just a lot of fun, a great way to get to know your coworkers from other parts of the country. And then the picture below that one, Turner Blue Day. So it's our Founders Day. I think it's May 5th, or typically the first week in May, and the whole company will stop and they will give back locally to their community. So the fact that Turner makes it a priority for their coworkers, for their employees to go out and to give back and stop the whole company essentially for a day to do that, I think is something that's really, really special. And it's good to be the hands and feet in your community. So interns, focusing on you guys, like what in the world would you be doing? What would your day look like? So there are typically 3 standard positions you would have. First one being the engineer intern. And before we hop into each single one, like I will say I've done other internships for other companies and other groups, and you're not here to do busy work. It's real work for the company that we need. You're really a part of our team. You know, Turner has a very well set up intern program. We have anywhere between 10 to sometimes 25 interns during a semester. And so we're used to those high numbers. A lot of our people know how to teach and coach and know how to really rope you into the team. So something that's really cool. So you're not going to be just like doing busy work. You're really helping the team. But an engineering intern. So an engineering intern would report to the project engineer. The project engineer is kind of responsible for building the job on paper before all the materials arrive and show up in the field and it be wrong. So they assist in shop drawings and submittals, which if you don't know what that is the concrete columns, the carpet, the lighting, every bit and every tiny little aspect about that building has to be reviewed and approved before it arrives on site. So you get to help with that process. You help manage RFIs, which are requests for information. So if there's a discrepancy on the drawings, or if there's a question or something we don't understand, you help work with the superintendents, the subcontractors, you work with your boss to kind of get that question together and then send it to the design team for official review. So that's an important aspect. Also quality control checks. So that just means checking and making sure that what we promised or what we've approved in all those shop drawings and submittals is actually what we're getting in the field. So engineering, I would say, is probably 70-30, can be 50-50, like versus in the office versus in the field, just depending on what state the job is in. So really just it kind of depends on where that project is at and when you're up there. So definitely some opportunities to be in the field. Don't think if you're an engineering intern like, oh, I'm just in the office. Like, no, you would be on a job site in a trailer or in a job office on the project, which I think is cool. You also have an opportunity to work in a software called Procore. We use that to process our submittals and our RFIs, and we keep photos in there. So it's the software that we use to help run the job. Then Bluebeam, like a PDF viewer, pretty standard. And then Instruction Site, which is new to me. I'm using it on my job now for the first time. Essentially, it's a 360 camera that you strap to your hard hat, and you walk around the job site, and it's kind of like a Google camera. It allows you to have a 360 view of the job, which is really, really neat. We have all kinds of uses for that technology. So it's a fun role. I've spent the majority of my career as an engineer, and I've really enjoyed it and have learned so much. And it's a great opportunity.
So kind of getting into the superintendent intern, this is more, you know, Sarah kind of hit on with an engineering intern, you're going to be on a job site. And so your time is going to be kind of split. The superintendent intern, I've got an intern that's operating in this role right now. And he's kind of my superintendent's right-hand man, kind of helping out with everything in the field. He kind of makes sure a lot of the crews get started up in the morning and kind of helping track when we do weekly work plans with subs during a weekly coordination meeting. He's kind of helping my superintendent track all that information that's coming in. And then whenever we're doing daily huddles with all of our subs, he's kind of saying, hey, this is what you were saying last week. So there's a lot of coordination that this intern is doing on site to kind of help the superintendent out. And, you know, one question we normally get is, am I going to get any training when I get on for what task I'm going to do? And so we don't really bring anybody on site and just expect you to know everything. Before my superintendent intern was doing a lot of this stuff, he was working hand in hand, and my superintendent was saying, hey, these are our processes and everything. And so he's kind of learning that process. And then after a little bit, we kind of give him the freedom to kind of go out and start helping us track some of that. And the cool thing is, if you succeed with the tasks that we're giving you, there's opportunity to take on more and earn more responsibility. My current intern on our job has done a great job, and so we give him more stuff to do. So it's almost like having another full-time employee on our job. So when he goes back to school in January, we're all going to be really sad because we're losing that production. It's all going to fall back on us. So it's one of the really cool things about Turner is we don't bring you in to send you out on coffee runs and do that kind of stuff. I mean, we're bringing you on and you're an asset to the team, and we're giving you real life stuff that if you weren't doing it, somebody on the project staff would have to be doing it. So I know my superintendent is really sad when he loses his intern in 2 months, but it's really kind of cool getting to see these guys come in and just jump right in and kind of be coordinating stuff with our subcontractors. So that's kind of the recap of what a superintendent intern would be working on.
Yeah. And so like, I mentioned the engineering intern builds everything on paper. The superintendent is kind of the commander or maestro, or superintendent is in charge for everything that goes on out in the field. So they're the ones that have that direct coordination with the subcontractors, help coordinate the work. It's a really fun role to be in. And the last one is an estimating intern. So engineer built it on paper, superintendent builds it in the field. The estimating intern would help with the budget and the setup and telling the owner, man, well, how much is all of this going to cost, right? Which is what everybody wants to know. Like, how much is this going to be? So they help develop the schedule. They help initiate cost-saving options, or VE, or value engineering, if you've ever heard that term before, and coordinating that with the subcontractors. Bid recording sheets, that's just a tool that we use. So if you have a quote from contractor A and you have a quote from contractor B, how do you make sure you're comparing those two numbers apples to apples? Well, a bid recording sheet helps you do that. Not that you would develop it, we have all that in pre-con, so you'd just be helping. And then you would be getting quotes and things from subcontractors. I did my first internship in the office, in our main office here in Nashville, as an estimating intern, and it was just a great way for me to get used to reading construction documents. I was a concrete industry management major at NTSU, so absolutely no like construction management experience whatsoever. So it was a little intimidating when I first started, but everyone was great and really took the time to teach and develop me. So I kind of knew what I was doing and talking about and felt very comfortable in my role. But also it gave me a great opportunity to get to know the leadership. Like there's no hidden veil. Like when you're working here for us, like this is what it's really like. So you really get to figure out, man, is this for me? Is this what I want to do? This is the kind of work environment I want to be in. And I think being an estimating intern, it's a great way to do that because you're in the office, you're interacting with leadership, you're seeing what they do every day, and you really get a feel for the culture of a company before you decide to work for them full time. It's always great to know kind of what you're getting into before you sign up and you want to do this. But yeah, Turner has just a great internship program. I'm so thankful for it and glad that I had the opportunity to do two of them. And a thing that is very important to me with the company is an evaluation. Like I get an evaluation and we evaluate you on your internship. So I mentioned that I'd done other internships prior. And so I was like, all right, well, bye, see you later. And you don't really get feedback. Well, man, what did I do well? What do I need to work on? Because we, like Thomas mentioned, we don't expect you guys to show up and just know everything, right? We're, you're here to learn, we're here to learn. And the point is to get better, every day. So part of our development and your development is to receive feedback, what you're doing well and what you're not doing. And that's a very formal process for Turner. So at the end of your internship, you will receive an evaluation on how you did and how you can improve. And you can also kind of review us, or what could we do better? Oh, this communication was a little weird. It's important to us that we're constantly getting better. So I thought it a point to let you guys know that it's important to us, and it is something that you'll get during an internship with us. So any chime in, Thomas, before we go to the next one?
No, I think the evaluation is just huge because, I think that's how you make the step from one level to the next, is when you kind of get some of that feedback from your supervisor on things that they think that you can improve on. Mm-hmm. Even Sarah and myself, like she said, we get evaluated every year, and our supervisors are telling us, hey, this is what you did well in 2020. This is what we want you to do better at in 2021. So that's how we grow. That's how we grow our interns. And ideally you'd get to intern multiple times. And so you're kind of getting to see that progression as you do multiple internships. But like Sarah said, it's kind of an underrated thing that you don't really think about, but it goes a long way in kind of developing interns. And we'll hit on it in a slide that's coming up, but that's why we translate so many of these interns into full-time hires, is partly because of this process. Agreed.
And a pro tip when you're doing interviews, either for full-time or for internships, asking a company, hey, what's your internal evaluation for your employees? Number one, I think they'll be impressed. And number two, it lets you know, oh man, like they don't have anything set up, or oh man, they had a really well thought out answer to that question. Because it's important to receive feedback and know, number one, how I'm doing, and number two, where do you see me going and moving in the company in the future? You know, like we have a plan for you and we're thinking about you and we're developing you for that position. So it's something that I think Turner does very, very well. And it's an important aspect to me with a company. So next time you're in an interview, hit them with that zinger. Let's see, next slide. So, Thomas mentioned, we convert a lot of interns to full-time hires. So these are some of the shining faces that have made the jump from intern to full-time hire just as of recent. Like I did internships, Thomas did internships, our faces aren't on there, but we obviously signed up full-time. But one thing that's cool is that there is an opportunity depending on need and demand and, a couple of factors. But, Tom Paduke, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but, he's done multiple internships. Tori Thompson, she's on my job now. She's done 3 internships. So you have that opportunity to come back multiple summers or semesters and really hone those skills that you and build upon those, from your previous internship. So really neat, and it's important to us to get good candidates in there. So yeah, I'll pause now for you guys to type out any questions that you could think of that are burning, either for Thomas and I personally, or just about Turner Construction and the internships. Anything you guys want to know while you have it? Do what?
I said, don't be shy.
Yeah, please don't. Nobody? Oh my goodness. All right, we'll keep going here. But yeah, question. Oh, I think we have one coming in here. Let's see. How do we apply? So you can apply on turnerconstruction.com and just make sure that you're applying for the right office, whether that's Nashville, Huntsville, or Memphis. Let's see here. Yeah, so there's the web link there right under questions. So turnerconstruction.com/careers. We got one question in, Sarah, from Marvin Lopez was asking what makes Turner so successful. And I think this kind of goes back what we've talked about during this meeting. I think the people and kind of the way we develop our people and kind of the internal Turner community, I think that's a huge reason why we're successful. I've spent some time with some other companies, and construction is one where you're going to run into adversity on your jobs. Things are not going to go the way you want them to go. Some things are going to fall through, but having your team be able to kind of rally together and kind of maybe take a few minutes to vent about the issue, but then kind of just putting your heads together and figuring out a way to solve the issue and not getting mad and pointing the finger at each other and blaming each other, but coming together and figuring out, hey, this is what happened. This is what we can do in the future to prevent it, but this is what we're going to do to fix this issue right now. And just having a team full of people that are willing and have that mindset, I think it takes you a long way, because there's always going to be stuff that pops up that doesn't go the way you want it to. Like my job, we just found out a key material that we need got pushed out 3 weeks. So it's kind of like, hey, what do we do to minimize the impact of that? And so it's just being surrounded by great people that all have the same goal and are willing to kind of come together. I think that is kind of what separates Turner in my book. Agreed. So we do have some questions rolling in. Thank you guys. Appreciate the participation. The one is, how does Turner support diversity? That is an excellent question. We actually have a diversity and inclusion department. I've met the woman that is over it. She is absolutely amazing. But one thing that's really cool is some people can have some preconceived notions about a construction company and, oh, those are the good old boys, and what do they know about or care about diversity and inclusion? But it is very, very important to Turner. We have online trainings that we have to do. And also Turner recognizes that the more diverse we are, the better we are. I mean, they are aware that all of the statistics that shows that companies that have a diverse culture outperform others that don't. So it is very important to us to maintain that, and that our employees are socially aware. So great question. Thank you for that. But yes, very important to Turner.
Got a couple.
Okay, go for it.
I was going to say, I got a couple in the chat that I think can be answered kind of similar. One of them was, what are the odds of being placed in Washington, D.C. on an internship? And then the other one is, when will intern positions start and what locations? So these can kind of be tied in together. So Sarah and I are representing Huntsville, Nashville, and Memphis. So we are recruiting for those areas. So the interns that we bring on from this will go respectively to those 3 locations. But we have had instances where we will reference somebody, like say the person who asked this question is from Washington, D.C., and they've got family up there. We have the connection to those other offices across the country where we could say, hey, we got a guy who lives in that area but is going to school down here, and we linked up with what do you guys have available, and sometimes can pass that information on. So I think I don't know what I'd say the odds are of that happening, but it is something that can be worked out.
Great. I'm typing some. One is, if I graduate in December, can I still come on as an intern? It really just depends on availability, because we do, have a strong intern program. We do have a lot of repeat interns. So it really just depends on the need for interns and the number of people that we have signed up to do one, and also depend on kind of where. But we do have people within Turner, like I'm the coordinator for MTSU. Like I'm point over that, and I keep plugged in with different events that are going on at MTSU, so we can interact with you guys and get you guys in the pipeline for internships, full-time hire, and things like that. So the mentee, signing up for that and getting that info is great, and also visiting your career center and just making sure you're plugged in. So COVID willing, when we can physically be at campus, or when we'll be hosting interviews either virtually or there in person. But yeah, so December might be a little quick, but I'm not saying it's completely out of the option. Another question is, would you guys let students work on a visa? So I know we've let a full-time person do that. That would be more of a Michelle Jari question, but I would say, I mean, if you're going to school and you're there on a visa, that should not be a problem. What advice could you provide someone for their interview with a recruiter? Great question. I would say know yourself and know what you're looking for. And I would not be intimidated if you don't have a ton of experience. Like I remember my first interview with Turner, I was very, very nervous. Again, didn't have any family in construction, didn't have any construction background, but I knew the kind of work environment that I was looking for. I knew what kind of skill sets that I possessed, that I felt that I could bring to the table, and hoped that they would work for Turner and that they would find those traits attractive. And it just worked out. So kind of going into it and knowing what you're looking for or what skills that you possess are always a great thing to kind of bring to an interview. So great questions. Thank you guys for bearing with us through this forum. Hopefully we'll be able to see you soon as things hopefully progress in a positive way. So great. Thomas, any closing?
Yeah, thank you guys for being on. Like we were talking about earlier, we miss being on campuses and kind of going back and interviewing and kind of seeing everybody in person. But this is second best for now, but we're glad for the opportunity to at least be able to interact in this way, which is better than not being able to interact at all. But we do look forward to kind of seeing you guys, and hopefully if you have any other questions, I think we've got the link here for Turner Mid-South if anybody has any other questions they want to ask. But thank you guys again for jumping on and spending some time with us today.
We appreciate it. All right. Bye, guys.
See y'all.
Bye.